Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast, and welcome to our spoiler-filled discussion for House of the Dragon Season 3. You have absolute power in your grasp. You have only to wield it. Welcome to the Geekcentric podcast. My name is Nate, and this is our spoiler-filled discussion for House of the Dragon Season 3. If you're joining us for the first time, we are Geekcentric, a podcast celebrating the world of movies, TV shows, video games, and all things geek-centric. Now, there is no way I can survive the dance of the dragons on my own. No. I need my most loyal and most humble friend in arms. He's Darcy the Durable, first of his name, King of the Sandals, Lord of the Heavy Riff, and Keeper of the Sacred Tomes, both the Noble Histories and the Grand Illustrated Chronicles, Sovereign of the Elevated Herbs, Devourer of Rich Feasts, and Protector of the Rare Lego Artifacts from across the realm. Welcome.
That's an even longer name than the king or the queen, jeez.
Listen, we gotta take, sometimes us lowborn folk, we gotta take everything we can, no matter who we gotta burn to get it. You know what I'm trying to say?
I mean, we're common folk. We can't get away with just burning people. We don't have dragons, man.
Dude, look at your hair. There's a bit of blonde there. I'm starting to go a bit blonde, maybe.
Fake blonde.
You know?
Mine is fake blonde entirely. I'm just like that fake Darren, basically.
They don't need to know. We'll be fake Darrens together, dude. How are you doing? Can you believe we are already at season 3, the end of season 3 for a spin-off show of Game of Thrones? Not even. There's been another spin-off show that I'm excited to come back. But how are you feeling about being at season 3 of the Hot D?
I mean, I'm excited. Having read the history of the Targaryen family and the Fire and Blood, it's an interesting story to explore, and I like the idea that, I mean, what has always fascinated me about that book was that it's written from the point of view of 3 authors set in that time, and they're all kind of contradictory accounts of what happened. So you're not really sure what the true story is, and this show, for the most part, is giving us the definitive answer while also changing some things. So it's cool to be here. Not sure if the changes made along the way have kept it as interesting a story, I guess is what I'll say.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's maybe some things in the ways that those other 3 narrators maybe you'd prefer have actually come to light in live action.
Yes, at least some of the things they agreed on that again, when they do agree on something, they change it in the show. So it's a bit weird that's they've gone that route almost.
Yeah. Well, you can just think of this as another a fourth narrator.
Fourth telling. Yeah, I guess
right?
So. I was just hoping for more of concrete evidence, I guess.
You just got to sit in a room with George Railroad himself and see, he'll give you the true answer. But yeah, man, I'm excited. I think this is one of those shows that it's pretty wild. Like I think of Gen V from The Boys, right? And that jumping into that spinoff series. And for me, that worked so well. And this one does as well. And I do think Night of the Seven Kingdoms is also so fantastic. I just think it's just crazy that, like, for as much, as people were upset with the final season of Game of Thrones and there was a lot of backlash towards it, I'm happy that didn't kill, the Game of Thrones universe in its bed, if you will.
Well, I mean, so much of that show up until the last few seasons was so solid and so faithful to the books, despite cutting things out. It still managed to stay true to the core of the story. Whereas those last few seasons, when they've gone past the books, they were kind of just making up on their own and they lost the plot entirely. So it's nice that people can realize that from afar. Again, that like the books and the story that were written as George intended, if you will, is still a very good story. And whatever comes after, hopefully we get a better telling of that whenever he decides to release the next book.
Yeah, for sure. And which, who knows when that's going to happen, man. Get off your railroad.
Yeah, he'll probably write 3 other spinoffs before then, so...
He he probably will, and I will watch them all. I won't read them, but I'll probably watch them when HBO decides to continue making them, or Paramount, or whoever the heck it is by that point. Darcy, let's talk about this season 3 before we get to the finale. Again, if you didn't hear it off the top, this is full spoilers, full spoilers for the entire season, including the finale. So make sure you've watched it all. But I wanted to kind of start things off with talking about the season, and maybe some of your favorite moments from throughout this season, and just kind of get into, you know, some of the big whoa moments, because I think this season, and we talked a little bit about this off air, and it does feel like it is setting up for what has been confirmed as the final season, with season 4. But I wanted to just kind of go through, and if you want to just list off, we'll go back and forth. What was a moment that had you just kind of feeling the Game of Thrones feels this season that isn't in the finale?
Opening up with the Battle of the Gullet was definitely something that got me excited. And it's, again, where I thought season 2 would have ended based on, you know, it's just pacing in my head and how I know the story at least is laid out up until the end of the Dance of Dragons, if you will. It's weird how they've decided to break it up, but we're starting there with the dragons and the fighting and the death, and everything about it is so Game of Thrones that it brings you right back into that House of the Dragon world. And I think it was a really, really strong place to start.
It was so, it really was epic. I think I read somewhere or heard somewhere that it was technically supposed to be the final episode of season 2. And so, but I think the idea of starting this season with a big epic battle and ending this season with a big epic battle filled with deaths was cool. I actually really appreciated that, the way that structure ended up working out. Jace, oh my gosh. You know, pour a couple out for Jace right now, guys, because it was that was tough.
Yes, it was tough, but he kind of also brought it on himself, locking his mom up and going with just one other dragon. It's just like, dragons are strong, but they were riding some of the smallest dragons we've seen. And we've seen how effective a crossbow is against a bigger dragon from the Game of Thrones. So, like, I don't know, I kind of blame him a bit for that too, as much as it is Sheep Stealer and everything that went on during that battle. But I don't know, he kind of asked for it, if you ask me.
Yeah, freaking Bela, no, Rhaena on Sheep Stealer. And then, I mean, Bela didn't necessarily help too much by going along with it all, but at the same time, you know, I just think that that moment we get to see the what's that ship? She's called the Bitch Fist is the name of the ship.
Yes, yes.
I can't remember the name of the character, but a great character as well, a great sort of villainous role from them. But no, I think, man, the performance from Emma Darcy in that episode, or it might have been episode 2, I guess. Like,
I think when she learns is episode 2.
When she learns about the death, oh my gosh, what an incredible performance and grieving moment. For me, I want to bring up, I'm going to jump super far, and the majority of mine are actually from the later half of the season, and tracks. In fact, like the last few episodes. But the battle at Butcher's Ball, dude, the ambush with Kristen Cole, you know, he's got his green forces there. They're like, oh, we survived. We made it through this. And then they're just like, no, that wasn't the battle. We are trapped here. The fact that he was denied a heroic duel, and then Alysanne Blackwood just out of the blue just shoots him, and then just one in the stomach or whatever, the chest, and then one in the face, and he's still holding on to that handkerchief at the end that Alicent gave him. I was just like, bro, this could have not been a more satisfying death for a character that just went so downhill.
I was going to say, if there's one thing that Game of Thrones or House of Dragon does, is it gives you the characters you love to hate, and then give them the most satisfying death that is completely against what they'd want for themselves. Again, he wants to die heroically in a duel, and here he is just shot like a shot as the first casualty in this great battle, essentially. Like, I think it's so neat. And again, one of the changes they made from the original story was the fact that it was the green side who was doing the whole guerrilla warfare thing, where in the book it was the blacks who were kind of just psychologically warfare against the green. So it's a neat flip on the head that still ends at the same result, which was really cool. Again, I love that flip and that reimagining of this tale. So it's really, again, a really memorable battle. Again, that death just satisfying.
So good. And even him just like wanting to be like, I'll take both of you, two of your strongest men or whatever on or whatever. And then Roddy the Ruin and the little Tully boy are just like laughing about it. Like they're just they're just laughing it off. Was there another one that you had before we keep going?
Honestly, I do want to talk about the whole sheep stealer over the season. Well, I am upset that was another very big change from the original source material. I do like the story we got out of it, seeing Damon as a father, basically, to throughout this whole course of the series. He's been a great warrior. He's been bloodthirsty. He's been got a weird thing for his niece type or whatever. Like he's had so much things going for him. We've never seen him truly act as a father. And here we have him seeing him have a chance to truly be a father and try and protect his daughter and relate to her. Again, we have that very open moment about, in that, what is it, 6th, 7th episode when the dragon, when he confronts her and then the other dragons attack, but he's like, you didn't have a dragon, or I didn't have a dragon for the longest time too. I can get it. You feel cast out, left out, alone. It's interesting to see this from a character. Again, like, he's had such an interesting arc over the course of the series that I really don't know where he's going to end up in the grand scheme of things. So it's again really cool to have this depth to this character over 3 seasons. He's still changing and surprising me.
And it is a bit wild too. Like I love seeing that from Daemon. I just think it's like these highborn Targaryens and always so many moments where we see these like even in the finale episode when Joffrey pops up, I was like, oh yeah, that kid still exists. Like it's just crazy how many kids these people have, but then B, they kind of just abandon them for the most part. They're off like growing up on their own somewhere else, but then they get so upset when they lose them because they're losing like their bloodline or whatever. Like it's just interesting to sort of see the dynamic in terms of how they're forming these relationships, how messed up the relationships are that we see, especially with Alicent and her kids and just like all this stuff. But I agree with you. I think that sequence, the whole Dance of the Dragons, the fight in that episode is phenomenal with Syrax, Caraxes, Sea Smoke, and Sheep Stealer duking it out. And poor Sheep Stealer, like he's just got an underbite.
Oh, I feel so bad for him at the end there as he limps away. Like, oh, poor guy. He's just trying to protect his friend that he doesn't even really know that well.
Yeah. And speaking of slightly deformed faces, the Return of the King. It was a moment that really hit for me in episode 7 as the penultimate get ready moment.
Yeah, it's almost the kind of get ready for the tables to be turned, because now you're going to root for someone else that you never thought you'd want to root for. Although I'm not quite that far, because again he is still a horrible king. It is just surprising to see this courage. Again, he wants to die as a king. He's going to die as Aegon. He'll submit himself to his forces. And the Return of the Dragon is so cool. Again, this happens in the source material, but how it happens is very different. So I really enjoy this aspect of it because it's glossed over so quickly in the original source material that you don't really know how he returns or how he came back. Whereas this time we see the entire journey and we see a different telling of how this dragon heals, which again is building on the magic of the world, which I always love. Again, he knew Sunfire was still alive, despite everyone and all other accounts saying this dragon is dead, give up. So it's just so cool that he was right, and this bond is so much larger than just a man and his pet. It is a magical thing. It's so cool.
As a Targaryen dragon rider, and I think it's interesting too because I feel like there was so much sort of emphasis on his brother Aemond and Vhagar and sort of their connection when he was younger. So to sort of see this really worked for me, and just again the whole fact that that Sunfire's face is burnt.
Oh yeah,
as
on
well,
the same, almost the opposite side, so they're so mirrors. It's cool. Great. It's so great storytelling.
Yeah, really good. And again, to your point, seeing him laughing maniacally, I'm cheering for this guy. Why am I cheering for this guy? And that's my favorite thing that I get from Game of Thrones almost exclusively. I've definitely experienced in a few other shows, but Game of Thrones, I think back
Jamie
to
Lannister's
Jamie
turn
Lannister.
Right? Again, he was the first character. The Hound, yeah. Again,
right?
He was the first character, but there were so many from that show that came around by the end that you're just they're not the worst guy out there.
Yeah. Like what I'm blanking right now. All I can think of is the big woman because that's what
Brienne of Tarth.
Brienne of Tarth, thank you. Well, that's what's his name? The redheaded guy loved her.
Tormund, yeah.
Tormund was like, I love the big woman. Yeah. But Brienne and when the Hound and Brienne were fighting, I was like, no, I don't want either of you to win this fight.
Mm-hmm.
Like both of you stop fighting right now. Yeah, no. So cool and such a great moment. Was there anything else you wanted to bring up about the season before we dive into this finale?
Again, you were talking about off air how many times I'm going to talk about the source material. Apparently, I'm going to talk about it every time I get a chance to talk.
Yes.
But one of the big changes.
From now on, take a drink whenever you hear from the books. From the
no,
source
don't
material.
do that. We do not condone that. That's not a healthy level of drinking
while
at
you're
all.
driving,
It's not sustainable.
but-
It's not sustainable. Do not do that.
Right.
Anyways, one of the changes that I really appreciate is how much of a factor Ormond played in this season over the course of it. What a great villain for this show. Like, and he's up there with those greasy, slimy bastards. Like he's like the Bastard Bolton comes to mind with one of these other horrible villains that you love to hate. And when you see them get their due, it feels so good. And this guy is the same thing. And the character flaws they give him are incredible. Like, you mean, the fact that he can't stand the scents and is so sensitive to smells and stuff like that. And to the point where he's vomiting after killing the smelly Baratheons or whatever. Like, it's
so good.
There are so many great moments from this character that lead to like that comedy from this in the darkest of times type thing. And I love it. And again, he was so small and glossed over in the story. I'm glad we got a fully fleshed out and really like proper bad guy to hate for the course of this season.
Yeah. I think that's cool. And again, that's I think the best part about any adaptation, right, is when they can not necessarily take away from, but add to the experience for people who have already experienced this story. And so those are some of the good changes about this iteration. Let's get into this finale. The treasons at Tumbleton. Treasons being plural, or as they like to say in the High Valyrian language of Tumbleton, like when they're talking about, and I was like, they put that word first. The return of the usurper. The episode opens, and in the dead of night at Dragonstone, Grandmaster Orwyle arrives with urgent, catastrophic news. Aegon lives, and he's out there. He's with Sunfire by his side. Rhaenyra is all freaking out. She starts having a big old panic attack because everything that she's fought for, this is just, again, it just all sorts of feels like it's crumbling away. She knows that, the High Septon and the religious folk out there, they just want a man on that throne. They really don't want a lady on the throne. And so this starts to freak her out. And she starts to realize after talking with Daemon, like, damn, I really didn't want to do this Daemon's way, but Daemon's like, we gotta go to war. We gotta fight. And he's like, I love it.
We got dragons. Let's use them.
Yeah. And it's such an interesting way that it's performed where he's just like, it feels like he's like, I was right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's just like, I've been right this whole time.
So I'm trying to tell you. Yeah.
I hate it. What did you think of this moment?
I mean, again, it makes sense. One of the biggest faults of Rhaenyra's reign is her indecisiveness. She wants to do what her father did because he was such a just king, but he also was not a very good king because he didn't dabble in politics. That's why this festering Hightower thing was able to grow under his nose, because he didn't care about it. So like, she's emulating the wrong man and needs to be a bit more firm. Again, try and take power if she believes she should. Just show it, wield that power. And again, it makes sense. I get that's what Daemon's been saying this whole time. The Targaryens rule as Targaryens, and she's been avoiding that. So it's cool to finally see it come around. And again, I'm on Daemon's side. Like, that's what he's been saying. It's what she should have done for a while.
Yeah.
It's kind of on her.
Yeah. It's interesting because I go back and forth on, like, it's just like the beginning of this season, I haven't not read the books, but the beginning of the season, I very much was rooting for Rhaenyra. And feeling like, okay, we're finally like, oh, damn, okay, you lost your son. Shoot, okay, another challenge. Oh, you're actually on the throne. Wow. And now we're here, and I don't really feel good about it by the end of this episode. And I think the beginning here where we start to dive in, it is interesting. I did feel bad for her. I did feel like, damn, like there's just another thing that she has to fight through. But I also agree with you. I think her dad was someone that, like, like me, I don't like confrontation. I hate confrontation. I'll do anything I possibly can to avoid confrontation. But yes, that does not make a good king. And in the same way that he let the Hightowers situation fester, he also let his sickness fester, right? And sort of didn't really deal with that, and just because he didn't want to, and he just wanted to make his little trains or whatever he was doing in his basement.
Modeling. He's making a model of King's Landing. Very accurate.
Yeah, it was a midlife crisis train situation. Okay, Rhaenyra's grip on her court begins to slip. She starts lashing out at those closest to her. She dismisses Mysaria from her cabinet despite their intimate bond, and then orders the confinement of Baela to her chambers, saying, "Don't go. You're not going to go save your dad, and we're not going to go save your dad or your grandfather, or whoever. His grandfather. Yes, her dad's grandfather. Yeah. Anyways,
or his grandfather.
You're not going to go save your grandfather. He made his decision. We got his finger in the mail or whatever." And then seeking to project strength, she puts on some sick ass armor, heads over to the Great Sept, and she publicly declares herself the prince that was promised in High Valyrian, which I thought was funny because I'm like, none of these people know what she's saying, bro. Like, you know, you're getting a little bit too in your own head there, Rhaenyra. And the High Septon refuses to bless her. She orders Alan of Hull to execute him on the spot, and then that kind of turns the capital's population against her. She basically killed the Pope in that moment. Which is crazy.
Not really?
No?
A very high-ranking cardinal, I'd say.
Okay.
The Pope is truly an old town. The true High Septon. That's the seat of power. Like, their Vatican is Old Town. So this is just someone who's very high-ranking and runs the capital city.
I mean, the lowborn people are pretty religious, if I'm not mistaken.
They're gonna again. They also don't know. This is at this point. We've already been in like 100+ years into Targaryens. We've had crazy Targaryens that the public have known about and have stories about. So
yeah,
another Targaryen doing this and then spouting all these fantastical ideas of a dream and a prophecy. No, the small folk aren't going to believe it. And again, I see people talking about this online. That's one of the biggest things. Is like, if Rhaenyra told everyone, how come everyone forgot about it? Well, because no one probably believes her. She's just some raving lunatic. She's a Targaryen that is going to be labeled as crazy and then filed away in that category for the rest of history. So it is not a good look for her. And again, her dismissing Mysaria on top of that is probably the dumbest thing she could do. I mean, she was a horrible master of whispers, if that's the role she was filling.
Yeah.
But the fact that even if she was trying to pit her and Daemon against each other and you're just, manipulate from behind the scenes, she knows so much about what's going on in the castle and about the forces and all these things. Why would you send her away where the Greens could get her? You've got a perfectly good dungeon where you now have a vacant cell. At least Otto's not there anymore. Go throw her in there. There are so many better ways to deal with this conniving woman who is, again, responsible, that everyone seems to forget, for blood and cheese getting into the castle. So,
wow. Yeah.
Like, she's not a good person. I don't know why. That's just dumb, just sending her off like that.
Yeah. I've been reading and I've been seeing that she's not necessarily the most popular character in the show as well. I think her performance is great. There's no issue with that. I do agree with you, though. I think it was a bad move. I also think that, like, to me, it's like she knows the lowborn folk. As to whether or not like they would have, because there was that whole thing, wasn't she like originally like a lady of the night or whatever?
Yeah,
was that
Daemon's
one
lover. Like she was first Daemon's lady, and that's who Daemon went to get revenge for the death of his wife's son.
Yeah, and then they and then she worked her way up, and there was that great scene that we got in this season of her and the other like lady of the night woman leader. Whatever,
basically, the person who took her place when she got promoted, essentially.
Yes, and a little behind the scenes. Apparently, she was the acting coach for a lot of the like younger actors on the show, which is interesting. Cool. But yeah, I also wanted to just mention, I do not think after seeing what we saw in this scene leading up to the move, like getting carried over to the High Sept, and then Alan being the one to kill the High Septon, I do not think that Adam and Alan are going to make this out together. I don't think they're going to make it through this series as brothers, as friends even. I think them both having the hots for Baela is one thing, and then the fact that like Adam basically dropping the line of like a glorious ascent for a bastard. Like you just want our dad to die so that you can ascend.
Either become Lord of Driftmark. Yeah. Like,
which is so interesting because it's kind of like a micro version of the Game of Thrones, right? It's like the idea of just like these two brothers, and it's just their rise to power, quote unquote, and just the way that they go about it is really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, their whole story, again, another big change from source material, in that I don't think, like, Jace was still alive when Corlys asked for them to be legitimized, and Jace says, yeah, why don't we do that? And she legitimizes them, and that has Corlys on their side very strongly. First, we have her deny him that, so they're still both of Hull. Even now that he's been raised to a knight, he's still just Sir Adam of Hull. Is not a good look for. It's going to leave some lingering, resentment. I totally get that. And then with what happens later on in the story, I can't really go into that because I don't want to spoil future book.
We won't be going that far with spoilers. Yes,
it's not going to end well for them at the very least. I'm going to agree with you there. Like it's a very. You're drawing it to or comparing it to the Targaryen, succession battle is apt, but there's more to it. This one, again, these ones are people who truly care about each other, and it's sad to see what route they could go down with what the show is doing to them. Because I know the route for the characters, and now that they could potentially be on different sides, that route becomes so much more treacherous.
Damn. Honestly, I kind of just want at least Bela and Rhaena to be okay. Just have them fly off. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know about that, man.
They're the only, like, I don't know. They're only good. They're good. I think they're pure good. I think if they rolled a D&D dice or whatever, it'd be, I don't know.
They're lawful good.
That's the one. There we go. Let's keep going here and get into something really, really big and really juicy that has been plaguing people for a very long time, including book readers. While speaking with Aemon Targaryen about her deep sense of loneliness, Alice confesses her true identity. She was the wife of Harren the Black and the queen of House Hor. I don't know how to pronounce that. This confirms that she was present at Harrenhal during its construction and its destruction by Aegon the Conqueror. She had a son that was horribly burnt and
three sons, four sons and husband were all killed in the book, at least.
One of them, she was like, I gotta save this kid. And she tries all this stuff. She gets into some freaky deaky stuff in the forest. She probably like kissed a goat or something. And then bing, bang, boom, she's cursed. Doesn't save the son, and she just has to live alone, helping all the different Targaryen princes that come through the castle or whatever. Darcy, what did you think of this reveal that she's over 100 and something years old? And what do you think this means for the rest of the series and for Game of Thrones in general? I know this was a big mystery for a lot of people.
Well, this is just that concrete evidence that I was looking for, because she was called a witch in one of the accounts of from Fire and Blood, and then other people just said she was a bastard of the house or a lowborn or whatever, and they just came with other stuff that kind of downplayed that all. So it's really cool that we are getting that confirmation that she is such a long-lived thing. Again, she saw Balerion attack the castle and managed to survive that, which is an incredible feat. Balerion is why Westeros was conquered in the first place. Wow. So to have witnessed that and still be around and kicking is incredible in its own. But it adds again to that idea of magic. We've seen red women before in the past. So I'm just wondering, like, that was a spell that was intended to keep her alive. So how would she look if this curse was broken? Would she get that immediate aging thing that we saw happen to Melisandre? Yeah. Like I don't know. It's just cool that this is almost like laying the seeds for what could be red women or something related to those lines. Again, the magic of the world of Game of Thrones is so vague. They don't do a lot of time, or they don't spend a lot of time explaining how it works or why it came to be. It just is there, and I think that's why it's so fascinating. I just want to know more about it.
Dude, I could do a spin-off show. Like, you know how, like, granted, I didn't finish it. I kind of want to go back and finish it after getting to see the Dune Part 3 scene that we got to see in IMAX recently. But they did do like a Bene Gesserit spin-off show that only lasted for one season, I believe. I don't think it's coming back. Maybe it is. But I think a witches spin-off in Game of Thrones and exploring that side of magic,
or follow some like one of the like first Three-Eyed Ravens or a Three-Eyed Raven from another time. Like
really cool.
Give me magic. Give me a very magic-based Game of Thrones show. I'd love that.
Yeah. Because we kind of got we got a different look with the lowborn side of things with Dunk and House of Night of the Seven Kingdoms. So to sort of see something that would maybe give us a little bit more of what's going on in the Godswood, what's going on with the tree guy that's half deer or whatever.
Give me a story about the first men. Like, again, they've been on Westeros forever. Why? What's so special about them? Type thing.
I'm down. I want to bring up one more thing though before we move on to the next scene, which is the whole aspect of what happened to the 4 eggs that Rhaenyra sent with her kids to Pentos in season 2, and Alice has now revealed in this season, 5 eggs. So we got 9 dragon eggs in total. It's widely regarded to be believed. I believe that it's like suggested that the eggs that Alice Rivers has are Dreamfire's eggs. And then she had that vision. Do we think I think the running theory, and I think what they're trying to position are at least 3 of these eggs, whether they're from the ones in Pentos or Dreamfire's eggs. Are these the eggs that end up in Game of Thrones?
The Pentos eggs, I'm almost 100% sure, are the ones that Dany ends up receiving.
Okay.
Because the ones that were found at Harrenhal, with Harrenhal being cursed, apparently, if I'm remembering correctly, none of the clutches laid there ever hatched or fully matured. So if they did have dragons, they were malformed, kind of like the curse of the Targaryens kind of extending back to the dragons as well. Yeah. So I don't think anything will really come from those 5 eggs.
Yeah.
I could be wrong though. Again, they're changing a lot of the source material, even more with each season. So what I know going forward might be very different from what actually happens in the end of this show.
Yeah. And I believe there's rumor and speculation that there is going to be a film that is being worked on about what happens just after this series. I maybe it's take that with a grain of salt, but
okay, well that explains a lot, because I've been wondering where they'd end this story, because the Dance of Dragons is the war, but there's so much of the story that we got leading up to it that it would feel bad leaving out what comes after it.
Yep.
But so knowing that there's a movie that is planned to follow what comes after, a stopping point is becoming a bit more clear in my head, and how you could work that out with the story I know at least.
Yeah. The title, I don't know if this is a big spoiler or not, and I don't want you to say anything about it if you're like, oh yeah, that's in the book or whatever, but it is called Aegon's Conquest, is according to the rumor that's the spin-off.
Well, if it's Aegon's Conquest, title. I don't know why they would call it wouldn't follow this at all. Aegon's Conquest is how Aegon conquered Westeros.
Okay.
It's the only thing ever referred to as Aegon's Conquest.
I don't know. There's so many Aegons. You know what I mean?
Yes, I know. But Aegons going forward aren't conquerors. That's one of the big things to remember.
maybe that's the change. I don't know. Let's keep going here. Aegon, this Aegon and Aemond reunite at Harrenhal. Aemond, recovering from the poisoning by Alicent, is confronted by an enraged Aegon. And rather than fighting, Aegon proposes a chilling truce. They put aside their hatred. And they're like, we got to go find Vhagar. We're going to secure some forces. We're going to go march on Tumbleton, and then we're going to go march on King's Landing.
They got to wrangle their little shit of a brother, as he said.
Oh, right. Yes, that. And then they got to go and they're going to execute Rhaenyra. And then maybe he'll forgive him for trying to fucking kill him. That sequence was great. I thought that was the performances were so good. I also just think Tom Glyn Carney has just been so good this season. And, you hinted to me that like, hey, man, you're going to start to like this guy a lot more as we go on. And absolutely, I think they did such a good job. What did you think of the fact that they're teaming up? It's going to happen. They're going to fight together finally, instead of trying to fight each other. Or maybe they'll still fight each other. I don't know.
Again, this is stuff that's been added from the source material because they gloss over it very quickly. Again, it's a recounting of history. The Dance of Dragons is a couple chapters at most in a great big book. So
yeah,
this is some stuff gets glossed over, and this is one of the things that they never really addressed, because again, Aemon doesn't really go for Aegon's head in the book, nor does he name himself king once Aegon is injured. He calls himself protector of the crown, and like it's a like one of those like regency rules type that he's going to rule in his stead until his brother's healthy enough. But I love the route that we're going this way, where it is again this character, the family struggle that is boiling down to brothers at this point. Like it's not just one half to the other. It's everyone in this family is at odds with everyone else in the family, it seems. And this is it's really cool to see this truce be met. And again, it shows you how far Aegon has come from the drunken prince we saw at the beginning of the series. And now he is truly becoming someone who is realizing what power he has and what power can do. So it's all like, again, you want to root for the guy, and seeing him come here, you still can tell he's not the most sane, but there is a bright side almost to him. So I do love this moment.
Yeah. I think I as much as I'm like saying like, oh man, I love, like I'm enjoying where he's going, and I hope that I can like him even more. I will say I would have liked maybe just a little bit more time of him having to just be in the shit. You know what I mean? Just having to like really like be, you know, I understand he went through a lot, but I'm just saying like I would have loved maybe just maybe an episode or two more of him just having to really experience being lowborn. I think it could have maybe ingratiated us a little bit more to his character, and maybe we'll still get something like that. But you know, I think now that he's back on his high dragon, I don't think that's going to happen. Let's talk about Tumbleton. The catastrophe at Tumbleton. The episode's tactical centerpiece is the first battle of Tumbleton as the Hightower army and Black loyalists clash. The Dragon Seed Ulf the White, who spent the lead up to the battle just getting all drunk and celebrating and complaining and yelling and screaming
out on a toilet.
Passing out on a toilet with his balls hanging out. That was crazy. He's commanded by Ormond Hightower to engage and he starts yelling at him. He pulls him off the toilet in another embarrassing scolding, similar to what we saw where Daemon did the same thing to him, and that kind of maybe pushed him to start talking to Ormond. And now the same thing has happened. He's got his pants around his ankles. He's ripped off the toilet. Who even knows if he got to flush? You know, he probably didn't. And
there's no flushing back then.
Oh,
man.
True. That's why when Ormond opened the door and he started like
he's
heaving.
retching instantly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ulf gets tired of this and he's like, I don't want to take orders from anybody. And then in a horrifying display of nihilistic power, he turns his dragon Silverwing not just on one army, but on both armies, incinerating both the Hightower host and Rhaenyra's own forces indiscriminately. Darcy, did you know this twist was coming, and how did you feel about how they showed this off?
Well, this twist is very different in the source material. In the source material, it's called the Battle of the Two Betrayers.
Oh,
and it's both Hugh and Ulf.
Oh no,
betray the blacks and fight for the Greens. Except they don't attack the Greens afterwards. This is a very neat spin on it.
Okay,
where it is just one man hungering for power, realizing that the guy who just talked down to him doesn't have a dragon, so why should he listen to anyone right now? He has his own dragon. He just got away from another one. It was a fantastic turn, and I also am really glad that they didn't make Hugh turn. I mean, maybe he will eventually, but at least he'll have more of a reason to at this point.
Yes,
because of what led to his turn. Whereas it's not that greedy power thing. He is still a very noble man trying to fight for his wife that unfortunately has passed now. Yeah. I mean, it's very cool. Yeah, again, I wasn't expecting it to just be him, nor was I expecting him to turn around once he devastated Rhaenyra's forces. Him turning on the town was news to me. And it's like, okay, Tumbletown is messed. No one can really occupy Tumbletown anymore.
It's just, and it's such a cute little name for a town. Tumbletown? Like, that sounds like a Legend of Zelda place where there'd be cute little fairies running around. Go to Tumbletown. Hey. Dude, this whole battle was so good. I really did enjoy it and enjoy it from a sense of just how horrific it was, in the sense that, like, bro, these high towers are just, and specifically Ormond being like, let's put all these little children at the front
It's all Hightower Knights, man. The fact that we saw when the Winter Wolves were storming the city and
Yeah.
they're going into houses, Knights were pulling women,
And
i.e.
throwing them.
Cat,
Yes.
and throwing them at the Winter Wolves, who they're just rabid Northmen who are like, kill anyone in the walls is what they were told. So
Yeah.
that's what they're doing. And
Yeah.
All Hightower Knights suck.
Dude, I got to talk about Roddy. You mentioned, all these rabid Northmen. I was totally for him until, he did kill that one kid, and that was a bit upsetting. I was like, bro, come on. Just like, bro.
He walked by the other kids. It was the kid who fought back. And he's like, if you're willing to fight, you get fought back to. And this is what happens in war. That's I can understand that being his mentality in the time.
Sure.
And it's all right. They're from the north. They're cold.
Yeah.
They're harsh.
Goodness gracious. Yeah. Not the right thing to do, but it how he would have justified it, I guess. But and it's like, did Ormond really kill that kid if you think about it? But anyways, I think everything other than that, Roddy the Ruin was so good in this episode. There was, I think that just let's talk about the death of Ormond, right? The whole idea of like, he gets his arm chopped off and then the blood squirts into Ormond's mouth, causing him to throw up. And then he gets a knife shoved up his asshole and then
roasted alive.
As Roddy is just there, like laughing like Gimli, just like,
yeah.
And it's just, what a phenomenal end to a great villain, I think, this season. What did you think of the battle, the way that things changed, and sort of the whole moment of the episode?
I mean, this battle was, again, like you said, great way to end the season after starting with another great battle. So good bookends there. It was, again, knowing betrayal was happening, and I was not expecting to see how it would come about in the lasting results. And again, the changes from the book, Roddy the Ruin does kill Ormond in the book. Like, he actually gets that full, like, the confirmed kill, as well as his cousin, who is not in the show at all, but he does it after losing his arm, which it makes him even more badass. Yeah. So it's cool how they kind of carry over some of that, but then to having built up Ormond as a larger character in this narrative, at least, to have him slain, like truly slain by the one thing he like despises, because he's so against Targaryens and their dragons, and he thinks they're abominations in the face of God. It's just, again, poetic justice for a good villain to be brought down by something he hates so much. And I love that the brutality of these forces as they're storming the wall, and how they are just, people are falling left, right, and center. Like, less than a third or less than a quarter of these men actually make it to the walls and into the city, and they still manage to cause so much damage before they break down the gates. It just goes to show how fierce Northmen who have nothing left to live for can be, and why they are such a strong, they were such a strong force in Rhaenyra's army. And now that they're gone, she's going to be feeling it for sure. Like, the reason why things were going her way for a while this season was because of them, and without them, I think she's going to be scrambling to recover from this loss, especially with Aegon returning.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is something that has been specifically specified in the book about Roddy, but you were saying, and I sort of picked up on it as well, about the way that he looks. You thought that maybe...
Oh yeah, just the actor's resemblance to Bella Ramsey had me feeling like this is a distant Mormont relative of the Lady Bear, and I just think it's fantastic that I have that vibe from just an angry Northman, but all I need is the eyes to twinkle enough and be like, oh, it's kind of like Lady Mormont. I love this.
That'd be cool. That would be so cool. Let's get to the final moment, the final prophecy of Helena. The episode ends in tragedy at the Red Keep after Mysaria cruelly informs Helena that her unborn child will be held as a hostage, and never really, there's no freedom. It's never going to happen for you. Helena realizes there's no escape from this cycle of violence, and in a heartbreaking parallel to past tragedies, she ends her own life. She Tommen's herself in the exact same window that he did. But yeah, and then so when Rhaenyra enters her chambers, she discovers the tapestry that Helena's been working on and weaving, that has been the same tapestry that has been what we've been seeing at every intro for this season. It is covered in blood, and she sees the image of her sitting, on the throne as queen. and she's like, "That's enough for me," and she closes the window in the direct visual of not just the High Septon, but also the death of Helena. Darcy, what did you think of the way this season ended?
Again, not expecting this at this moment,
Mhm.
and we knew it was coming from being a fan of the books or the book. This is a very similar end to Helena as we see in the story. What I don't appreciate, I think, is one of George Martin's biggest gripes with the show too, is the fact that they tone down the harshness of blood and cheese and how that would have lasting butterfly effects in the story. And we're seeing that predominantly with Helena's character as they're having to change shift some things around and explain stuff. Again, her being a dreamer, I think, is new to the series, which is a really cool aspect. And I love the way they were able to kind of shift it that way for the narrative's sake. But things that come from her and surrounding her kids are some of the most horrific things that occur in the Dance of Dragons, and kind of show how the Blacks aren't the best people. I mean, Blood and Cheese was only the tip of the iceberg for what happens to the heirs of Aegon. So it's interesting to see that we won't see, like, again, Maelor kind of escaped that by not being born at all this time around.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting. Again, we are seeing the beginning of descent into madness for Rhaenyra. She just, too many straws have broken, and now she's just scrambling at what little power she has left, and it's again not going to end well for her. We know how these stories go in Game of Thrones. When you kind of start going crazy, you don't win. So
yeah, and I mean, Alicent is, she really only had her good daughter left. You know what I mean? She's got the other two sons. One of them wants to do things to her, and the other one is just, probably still a lost cause. But
Darren, don't forget Darren.
Darren is still hopefully out there. We didn't necessarily get confirmation that he is alive, but we didn't see his dragon at the end there.
If Gwaine was closer to the fire blast and was alive, then I'm sure a Targaryen who was a bit further away should be fine from fire. I'm hoping, at least.
Even though his dragon is so small, he's got such a little small dragon.
He's a little baby dragon.
It's cute. It's so nice, and I can't wait to see him as Link in the future. But on the subject of Helena and the idea of butterfly effects, I think the fact that she kept seeing these little caterpillars, and the one caterpillar, she's like, it's out of season. And I'm like, girl, you're out of season. You know what I mean? Like, you are, if you could only have been born in a different house or a different place or a different whatever, a different situation, what a phenomenal.
Yeah, 30, 40 years, Targaryen rule house was a bit more stable. That should have been fine in that area.
And it is funny because you said butterfly effect. I did think it was interesting how they ended the episode with all the butterflies.
I'm almost positive that's just almost a FU, or just like a stick it to George kind of thing, because because he specifically said that the changes to Blood and Cheese's scene will have lasting, like, a butterfly effect on the rest of the story. He said
butterflies.
And get ready for more butterflies, because they're going to have to make changes going forward. Oh, no. So, like, the fact that they added more butterflies to one of the bigger changes, like, again, to how she got to how she dies, is kind of, they had to know what they were doing.
Interesting.
It's too on the nose to not.
And it's interesting too, because it's like the final season of Game of Thrones, having a, kind of going through this, like, well, we have to end the story somehow, even though the source material is not there. And so changes were made that people didn't agree with. Now we do have the source material. We are going into the final season with it, and sort of, they're going to continue to make changes. I do want to ask you what you think is in the future. I want you to become Helena for me. But just before we do, I'd love to hear, what are your final thoughts on this season as a whole? And then we'll talk about what's next.
Yeah. Well, again, this isn't my favorite season of the show, but I still enjoyed it. Again, I found the pacing with this season, more so than the other two, was very noticeably, it dragged at times, and really took its time building and setting up this final battle that, again, the books gloss over so many battles so quickly that you could feel almost where they were scrambling to make it. And while we did get some great things out of it, like Ormond as a villain and some other stuff, I feel like we could have gotten there a bit quicker to kind of go further in the story. because what comes later on is just as fascinating as what's happening now. Overall, it is still a great addition to the lore or world of Game of Thrones and the Song of Ice and Fire. It's giving me a lot of that concrete evidence that I wanted for the events that I read about in Fire and Blood. So that is really cool. And again, the changes that are being made, while I don't like some of them, they still work narratively for the story they're telling here. So I'm okay with that. And I'm interested to see how this will affect the grander story going forward.
Yeah.
As for where things are going, I don't know how to talk about that without giving things away, considering I've read ahead.
Okay. I'll give some ideas, and you can just sort of.
I'll just respond about how much I like your ideas
in the best way possible, whether they're crazy or not. Overall, this definitely feels like a setup season as a season 3 to a final season 4. I think there's a lot of elements setting up the big players that. It did feel a little sort of less impactful at some times. I think the idea of like dragging their feet is something that was maybe one of my least favorite things about certain seasons of Game of Thrones, was how much it sort of felt like, hey, this is a cool thing. What do you want to know about this? Cool. You're going to learn about it in 4 seasons from now. It's like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. And so this season sort of felt like that a little bit. I did love the battle at the beginning, the battle at the end, but like you said, getting there, it's just like, oh my goodness, this is reminding me of some of my lesser favorite things about Game of Thrones in general, and about that original series. But this series is so good in terms of it's like, it just still sticks. It's still Game of Thrones. The performances, the dragon visuals, Ramen mother flipping Jawadi, bro, continues to kill it with the music. Like, it is so good, and the attention to detail in the fabrication from everything from the sets, the armor is just so well done. The weapons is so well done, and I think even a bad season of this show is still some phenomenal storytelling and phenomenal TV.
For sure.
Yeah. As for what's next, the only thing I will say is I do think, like you said, I think Hugh Hammer, with Kat being dead, I think he's going to blame Rhaenyra. Like, I think he's going to be like, it was your men or something. Mm-hmm. It was your Northmen that killed her, even though she was thrown by a high tower person. But I think there's going to be some sort of cross section there. He's going to start talking to Ulf, and then they're going to team up, unfortunately, even though I love that guy. I was saying to you, Darcy, I'm like, I want to look like that man. That'll be my midlife crisis, is to look like that man. Maybe it'll happen. We'll see. I also am confused. I guess the big thing for me, I don't really have an idea about how this could be handled, and maybe you know, but it does feel like, because correct me if I'm wrong, this book wasn't out when Game of Thrones was airing, when the first season of Game of Thrones aired.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, no, this came out after, I'm pretty sure, the final season, or during the final
season.
Around the final season.
Right.
Yeah.
So it does make sense that in the show and you know, they wouldn't have mentioned it at all, but it does kind of feel a little bit weird that it's like, it's only 160 years. And I wonder if that's going to be their goal for this final season, is to really showcase how, you know, there's some sad moral message about the fact that, like, you know, she'll never get to have the power that she wanted. And at the end of the day, after all the fire and all the blood, no one remembers. And I am intrigued to see if that's the direction that they're going to go.
You mean like remembers her?
Just remembers the events of this entire series, right? The idea
they do, because they've mentioned the Dance of Dragons in Game of Thrones.
Do they really?
They talk about a great civil war, yeah, at least in the books. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they left it out, because that's early books. They talk about it too.
Yeah,
so it would be grounds for us to talk about in the show.
I guess it's just one of those things where I don't know. I never, as somebody who watched the show, it doesn't really feel like this did have that much of it, or at least
because they talk about the downfall of dragons.
Yeah,
they talk about the downfall of dragons, and this is the beginning of the downfall of dragons. So it's constantly referenced during Game of Thrones, and as why Dany is such a big deal having dragons after so long, because this battle that we're exploring now is the beginning of the extinction of dragons, if you will.
All right. I don't know. To me, it just doesn't feel like there was enough. It doesn't feel like enough connective tissue has been made. So I think that a season 4, they're going to try to really push that, like, more than maybe the book did. I don't know. I don't know.
That's going to be forgotten.
Like now that you mentioned that, maybe I guess not, but just the idea.
No, because I guess you're forgetting that when before, I think it was Aegon or the one before, the king before Aegon, displayed all the dragon skulls they found in the keep, and they talked about that. Like Robert talked about having all those skulls moved to the basement when he moved into the castle, and we see those skulls at one point. We see the skull of Balerion the Black Dread, in Game of Thrones. So like the romanticizing of dragons and talking about the downfall and how man triumphed over crazy Targaryens is something that will always be remembered in the Game of Thrones lore, if you will, or Westeros history.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, so then I guess, do they try to connect that tissue a little bit more? Just with the idea of, like, the eggs being a thing that Alice River and the ones being sent to Pentos or whatever. Like, are we going to sort of get to the ones in Pentos
closer to see the red, green, and black? Because, again, we know those eggs had those colors to them, or they were gold, green, and black, sorry. They had those colors to them when she got them and before they hatched. So if we get a closer look, that'll probably be enough concrete evidence for that, at least.
And without giving anything away, is there anything you can tease from your knowledge of the books that you think we might get?
Well, the Battle of the God's Eye, or Battle Above God's Eye, sorry. Battle Above God's Eye is the next battle to look forward to.
Okay.
I'd say. The next big one.
Okay. I'm excited. That is it for our spoiler-filled discussion for House of the Dragon Season 3. We hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to share your thoughts on this series or any of the movies or series we cover, well, let me just call upon the aid of Darcy the Durable to help me defeat my enemies and bring word to you, our loyal listeners, on how you too can send a raven with your thoughts and musings to our kingdom.
I don't know how a raven translates to email, but they can reach us at wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. That's wearegeekcentric@gmail.com. Or if you actually have a raven and it knows how to use Twitter because it's a bird, you can reach us on at Geekcentric YT or over on Instagram at wearegeekcentric.
Right. It's called Squawk. Squawk there.
Yeah.
Instead of Grok.
Squawker.
Instead of Grok, he's got Squawk going on. Keep in mind, we have a ton of other great episodes covering the latest in movies and TV shows, including our most recent spoiler-filled review for Spider-Man Brand New Day. We've also got a spoiler-free review out for that as well. We've also got spoiler-free reviews for Star Wars Visions Presents The Ninth Jedi Season 1, Batman Caped Crusader Season 2, Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, and Disney's Moana, and a bunch more from throughout the hot geek summer that continues to heat up. We got our upcoming discussion for, we just saw The Odyssey in 70mm IMAX, so that should be out really soon, as well as our spoiler-filled discussion for the end of X-Men 97 Season 2, which I'm very much looking forward to, as well as reviews for movies like Dune Part 3 and Avengers Doomsday, and everything in between. We've got our recent San Diego Comic-Con recap where we discuss the biggest news from SDCC, including the news about God of War, Spaceballs, the second one, and all that Marvel Hall H goodness. And we've got our upcoming recap where we're going to recap everything from the House of Mouse going on at D23 over the weekend. So all those big announcements, about the entertainment side of things, as well as parks and experiences. You can look forward to our thoughts on that very soon. And if you want to see, any of our interviews with your favorite actors, filmmakers, composers, you can head over to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/geekcentric. And while you're at it, we'd love to hear from you. A 5-star review in that podcast app of choice would go such a long way. And it would really help us out because we are Geekcentric and you can be too. Darcy, thank you so much for joining me for this Dracarys-filled review. And as we say, love ya.
Laters.